So a waiter comes up to some Jewish women who are eating at a restaurant in Florida, and he says, "Excuse me, is anything okay?" Right, okay, enough of that. Did want to talk, though, not about Florida, but about Egypt, and particularly the 4 questions that we ask about our experience in Egypt. Now, here's my question on the 4 questions. There are a lot of strange things that happen on Jewish holidays. For example, on Rosh Hashanah, we're dipping apples in honey, and we're eating fish head, which most of us don't do on a typical night. On Sukkot, we're going out into a hut instead of eating in our dining rooms. And on Shavuot, we're staying up all night and we're studying Torah. So why is it that particularly on this holiday of Passover, the kids ask, why is this night different from all other nights? To understand that, I think we have to look at the questions that are asked, because the questions ask about a contrast between the matzah on the one hand, which is the bread that they ate in freedom, and the mar, which remembers the bitter times. Between, on the one hand, dipping the vegetable in salt water that remembers the tears, and the mar, the bitter herb, in charosas, which remembers the mortar, again, parts of suffering, and then we contrast that with reclining. The kid's question is, this looks schizophrenic. What is going on? Are we celebrating, or are we remembering bad times? What's going on? And to answer the child, we say, Avadim hayinu vayotzienu. It is because we were slaves that we were able to achieve the freedom that we have today. In Judaism, we've been through many times of suffering, but we believe that every one of those is meaningful in allowing the process of greatness to develop from within that suffering and that adversity. And therefore, yes, we have the mar, yes, we have the tears, we have those bitter parts of the story, and we lead that up. That brings us to the happy parts, to the wondrous, joyous parts of our history. This is a very relevant message to today, whether we look at the threats that Israel faces in the Middle East, whether we look at apathy and assimilation destroying the ranks of American Jewry, whether we look in our own lives, the challenges that we face. It can be hard to be encouraged and to experience the freedom of Passover. But if we recognize that as a nation we've always succeeded because of the adversity, we can embrace the adversity that we face, whether abroad or right here or in our own lives, and through that achieve the freedom of Passover. Have a great Shabbos and a fantastic Passover.